Let us learn pronoun today, and under pronoun we have a personal pronoun. So let us learn more about personal pronoun. Under pronoun we have personal pronoun. Okay, and under this personal pronoun we also have a singular and plural. So under this singular and plural we have first person, second person and third person. The first person singular is I, and the plural is we, and the second person as you, and even the second person plural will be you, because when we say to a person you, we can also at the same time say to many people as you, and the third person will be singular, she or he or it, and the third person plural will be they. So one thing which you need to keep in mind when we say first person, second person and third person is that, see, whenever a person speaks, the person who is speaking is the first person, and the person who is listening to the first person is the second person, and the topic can be like he or she or it can be anything else. The topic can be the third person. Like for example, let's say that this is the first person as of now. This is the first person I, and the first person I is talking to Mr. Second person, that is you, and the person whom they are talking about, for example, third person, Mr. he or Mr. she, it can be anything. So this is the first person, and this is the second person, and this is the third person. So I'll mark it with blue color, the first person and the second person and the third person. So that means this person is talking to this person. About who? About the third person. But see, this I can be changed. First person, second person, and the third person can change among themselves. For example, let's say that first person. Okay, now it was she was third person now. But yes, we can even put this she as the first person to talk. Like for example, let's say that she started talking telling a story to a person. That definitely this person becomes the first person, and the person who is listening to the speaker becomes the second person, and the topic whom they are talking about. For example, let's say that they are talking about, she is talking about this person to her. Then the topic becomes the third person. So it depends. So this is the third person. Are you here? Yes. So, or even this you, when you started talking to anybody of these, then this you, let's say that this you started talking to she. Then the moment she starts talking, she becomes the first person, and the listener becomes the second person, and the topic becomes the third person. So we need to keep in mind that even it can change, but the moment you started talking, you becomes the first person, and the listener becomes the second person, and the topic becomes the third person. That is he, she, or it, or even like some other nouns here, like names. Okay, so likewise, in the plural we call it we. If there are two people talking, then it becomes we, and if there are two people listening, still we say you. And if there are two people or more than two people, if they are talking about more than two people or two people, then still we call it they. So we, you, they. Or even if this person is talking, then this person becomes we, and if this person is listening, then this person becomes you, and if the topic is this, or if she is talking about this person to this person, then this is the topic, therefore this person can be called as they. So these two people can be called as they. Keeping in mind this person, we will learn what are the other pronouns. Like for example, For example, like, okay, let us learn some more about pronoun, I mean to say. So the first one will be like, okay, subjective. And second thing is objective. And the fourth one can be like reflexive. And the fourth one will be possessive. So now, from here we understood that this personal pronoun can be converted into subjective, objective, can be converted into reflexive and possessive. Like, okay, so we'll start with the subjective. The first one is, we'll put it here I, and next we put it we, and next we put it you. Next is you, but since it is just the same, we are not writing. The third one, I mean the next one will be like she, next one he, next will be it, and then last one is they. So, subjective, objective. Here is something very simple. Now, subjective in a sense, subject. The pronoun which we use in the subject, in the place of subject. Like for example, I'll give you one simple example here. Like she calls him. Now, when it says she calls him, she is the subject, and calls is the verb, and him is the object. So this is subject, this is verb, and this is the object. In a sense, pronouns can be called as subjective or objective, or even reflexive and possessive. But right now we are discussing about subjective and objective. Now here, subjective in a sense what? The pronouns which we can use in the subject is called subjective, and the pronoun which we can use in the object is called objective. So every pronoun can be converted to subjective or objective, or reflexive and possessive. So now let us understand some more how we convert into objective. So I will be in the objective, it will be us. It will be me. And we will be converted into us. And you will be just you. She will be her. He will be him. It will be just it. They will be they. Them. Right. Now you already understood that the difference between subject and the object now. So these are the pronouns which we use in the objects, and these are the pronouns which we use in the subject. So we should not make a mistake by giving a wrong position of it. If you change it, like for example, me in the subject area, that it will be a mistake. For example, you cannot call she calls him. You cannot say her calls him. You cannot say, because when you say her calls him, then her is actually an objective and not a subjective. Therefore, if you say her call him is wrong. It is wrong. Therefore, you have to say she calls him. And likewise, you can even say I call him, we call him, you call him, she calls him, he calls him, it calls him. You cannot say actually, but yes, you can say they call him. So subject, you can make sentences like that. So if you understand the subjective and objective, sentence making sentences, especially with the subject and object, is going to be very simple for you. Now, for example, now let us go and see the me even. Like she calls me, you can say that, or she calls us, you can say, or even you can say she calls you, you can say, or even you say she calls her, that is also okay. You can say she calls him, she calls it, or she calls them. Even you can say so now it becomes, now when you make a simple sentence and convert into, you can even convert into any of this depending on how you put the subject and object in a proper place. Now, as you have already learned subjective and objective, let us learn reflexive and possessive now. Now, when you say reflexive, see, reflexive in a sense what? Reflecting. So, for example, how do you say that? How do you say a pronoun is reflexive? Like, so I mean, how do you say a pronoun is reflexive? Now, when you say I, me is the subjective and objective, reflexive will be like kind of myself, and we, us will be like ourself. You will be like yourself. She, her, herself. Him, himself. It, itself. Them will be themselves. Now, guys, now I have made it reflexive. Yes, actually, to make you understand that it is, I just make it self, and everything becomes reflexive now. But yes, there is some correction to be required, to be done here. There is some correction required, and those are like, for example, okay, if you say wife in singular, W-I-F-A as a singular, but when you put it as plural, it should be W-I-V-E-S. Therefore, this is, okay, therefore we need to change, wherever it is plural, we need to convert into V-E-S as plural. So, like, we is plural, I is singular, therefore it is myself, it is correct. But since we is plural, it should be it should be, sorry, not W, but here we have to say V-E-S. We have to write it like this. Then it will be the correct way of writing reflexive. And you can be singular at the same time. It can be also plural. Therefore, you can even say you can even add. You can even say yourself for singular and for plural yourselves. And she is singular, therefore herself is correct. He is also singular, himself is correct. It is also singular, therefore itself is also correct. But yes, when you say they is plural, therefore you have to say themselves, not themselves. So it should be V-E-S. It should be like that. Now, guys, you have already understood reflexive, but yes, let us make sentence. Like, for example, I, myself. When you make a sentence, it should be I, myself, or we, ourselves, or you, yourselves, she, herself, he, himself, it, itself, they, themselves. It should be like that. So, or you can even say myself. So, like, for example, when you make a sentence, I, myself, have completed the cake. We, ourselves, have completed the cake. You yourself have completed the cake. She herself has completed the cake. He himself has completed the cake. It itself has completed the cake. They themselves have completed the cake. In a sense, they have eaten all the cake. Now, let us go for possessive. Now, possessive is going to be very interesting and very simple again. Possessive. Now, when you say possessive, what is possessive? Possessive is coming from the word possess. Possess in essence what? Own or ownership, which explain ownership. So when you say ownership, like for example, I have a pen now, and this pen is mine. So I possess this pen. So when you say possessive, a pronoun or a possessive pronoun talks about the ownership, something which belongs to you. Like for example, now. Not an example, but yes, let us convert this subjective into possessive. Now, when you say in possessive, it should be like mine, M-I-N-E, mine, or even you can say, yeah, it should be mine, or you can even say mine. And we, the possessive will be ours, or you can even say are. And you, the possessive will be yours, or it should be even, it can be even your. She will be her, right? So it should be her, hers. Yeah, it should be hers. Or even you can say her. Her is also can be possessive. Or him, sorry, he, him, his. It should be his. And it should be I-T-S, its. Guys, one small explanation here is that when you say I-T-S, its is not a plural, but it is just a singular, and it is a possessive of it. Sometimes people make mistake by writing I-T''S. But I mean, in place of this, some people write like this. So it is a mistake because this I-T''S is equivalent to it is. It is. And this I-T-S, its, is the possessive of the subject. It is possessive of the pronoun it. So therefore, you should make it very clear the difference between these two. And okay, the last thing is that the last thing of possessive of they is theirs, or you can even say their. Now let us make sentences with this with this possessive, like the possessive. Okay, I'll give you a sentence. We'll write it over here. And I'll make a small sentence over here and say this is my pen. Or you can even say this pen is mine. So it is just the same sentence with the same meaning. Sorry, it is with the same meaning, but the way we make the sentence is a little bit different. But though it is different, it explains possessiveness. See, for example, this is my pen. My pen means what? The pen is owned by you, or you own the pen. And likewise, this pen is mine. So for example, this is the example, these two examples are for this. But at the same time, we can even use for all this. Like for example, this is our pen. This pen is ours. This is your pen. This pen is yours. This is her pen. This pen is hers. This is his pen. Okay? Or this pen is his. This pen, okay, no, we cannot say for it. But for its, we can make another sentence that is, alright, let's say that I have a dog, and the dog has a shirt. Then you can say that this shirt is its. Yes, this shirt is its. In the sense that its is referring to my dog. And then the last one that is theirs and their. And for that also we can make use with this one. This is their pen. This pen is theirs. So that is how we make sentences.